Chapter 1. The Beginning. Colonel Ivar Brogger woke from his sleep. While he was setting up in his rack, his mind drifted off to when the Einherjar was formed by the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Bragg, and his great-grandfather, Lieutenant General Strike. They formed it on April 9, 2303. It was born from the Gru invasion. The Gru is a large lizard humanoid-type alien from TOI 700E. They call it Grugon. They invaded Earth on August 20th, 2289. They came to conquer our planet to feed on and enslave the human race. Come 2302, they had all but wiped most of the humans out. This was when the leaders of Earth finally admitted that there was life out in space. The human race was holding out the best they could, but was slowly losing the fight. All the leaders came together and brought the brightest scientific minds together to come up with armor and weapons to repel the enemy. They made their armor and weapons based on old Draengrs. Draengrs are what we know nowadays as Vikings. They took that basis and added modern touches. The armor was called Lemelar. Lemelar is what the Draengrs of old called their armor. It was completely enclosed with advanced targeting and visual optics. The Marines called it Valhall armor. Valhall is what we call nowadays Valhalla. It increased the Draengrs' strength by 50%. They could carry up to 1,000 pounds, and you can run up to 40 miles per hour and not get tired. It was a combination of Gru mechanical armor and human DNA. The armor could only be used by the Draengr assigned to it. It had quantum computer technology. An anti-gravity energy shield also protected it. The scientist was able to take the Gru shielding and upgrade it. It could now repel energy weapons and solid weapons. The basic rifle was called the V250. It shot a 50 caliber round. There are 3 types of rounds. Niflheim rounds. Niflheim rounds was from the lands of Norse mythology that existed before Odin and his brothers killed Ymir and created the 9 realms. They were infused with liquid helium. It was a boiling point of negative 452 degrees Fahrenheit. This round had an amazing result of actually freezing the Gru solid. Another round was called Muspelheim. Muspelheim was the other land mass of fire that existed before the 9 realms. It was infused with hot quark soup at a temperature of 9.9 trillion degrees Fahrenheit. They had to make a special shielding that could contain the round. This round was very unstable and was only used as a last result. The last round is a basic uranium-infused round. It was effective on an unarmored area of the Gru. This round took several rounds to put a Gru down, but it worked. The V250 weighed a total of 15 pounds. It had a mounted S2V4 high-powered self-adjusting scope. It was accurate up to 2,200 yards. It was also linked to the helmet visor. This rifle was a huge factor in changing the tide with the Gru occupation. They carried a pistol called the V56. It weighed 7 pounds. It was also a 50 caliber round accurate up to 150 yards. It shot the uranium-infused round. They carried a 12-inch sax knife made from the Gru mineral called the scrim. It was 30 times stronger than titanium and never dulled. They also carried a Carolingian sword, around 37 inches in length. Last but not least, a skegox. It is a 16-inch long axe. Its blade is around 4.5 inches. Like the rest of the armor and weapons, it was also made from scrim. During Colonel Ivar's thought, a voice rang out over the intercom. "Colonel, your presence is requested on the bridge." He recognized that voice. It was Captain Solvey. Captain Solvey was about 5 foot 7 inches. She had long blonde hair, a nice bosom, and childbearing hips. She would be a perfect wife for a strong Draengr. For any man, really. Her beauty was not compared to any other on the ship. Like her beauty, she commanded respect, and it was given. "I will be right there," said Ivar. Ivar got up and got dressed. Ivar was 6 foot 6 inches tall. He is what most called a hybrid human. His genes are what enable him to wear the Valhall armor. Only those with the genes of a human and that of a Frong were able to wear it. Anything else, and the suit literally crushed them. Ivar made his way to the command deck. "What is it, Captain?" asked Ivar. We're about 1 hour from the Frong home planet Frongia, or as we call it, Sir Kepler 442b, said Captain Solvey. They have contacted us and informed us of heavy GRU attacks and requested immediate Einherjar support. Very well, Captain. Sound all hands to battle stations and inform the Frong we will be there and aid them in this attack, acknowledged Ivar. Yes, Colonel, said Solvey. Ivar headed to the armory to suit up. When the elevator doors closed, Ivar was back in thought. The Frong came to the aid of the humans. They and the GRU have been fighting for thousands of Earth years. For most of the war, it was pretty even until the GRU discovered Earth. With Earth's resources, the GRU started to gain the upper hand. Scientists came up with the technology to fight the GRU off, but no one could use it. It crushed and killed all who tried. The Frong inspected the armor and found that mixing human and Frong genes made a hybrid taller, stronger, faster, and more knowledgeable than anyone else. The first test tube clone was created, and with the Frong's fast growth rate, the first hybrid was ready for trials in 3 years. During the 3-year growth cycle, the subject learned all forms of fighting, military knowledge, space and alien race known to both humans and Frong. He was the perfect Draengur. He was 20 times stronger, faster, and smarter than any human. April 9th, 2305. Subject 001 tried on the suit for the first time. It was as if the suit was made for him. His fighting skills were beyond anyone's belief. He single-handedly took down a full GRU Revere ship and its crew in 10 minutes. Finally, there was hope on the horizon. The elevator stopped, and the doors opened. Ivar was pleased to see his 3 rifle companies were getting ready and was looking forward to the fight ahead. As he stepped out of the elevator, a voice rang out. Attention on deck. Everyone stopped what they were doing and stood at attention. Parade, rest, called out Ivar. Ivar looked at everyone. Today is your lucky day, you salty stains. For today we bathe in GRU blood. Our allied planet Frongia is under attack by the GRU. We were coming to Frongia for a diplomatic meeting, but they have called for the meanest, toughest, ugliest fuckers the galaxy has ever seen. They all shouted hoorah as one cohesive unit. This made Ivar smile. We, the Einherjar, have answered their call for help. After all, we were bred for this very thing. I want Heimdall Company and your berserkers to flank right. Tyr Company and your berserkers center front. Vey Company and your berserkers left flank. All companies have their berserkers with their heavy weapons stationed for the most effective fields of fire. Honir, take your sniper rifles and post up where you can. Watch our backs and take out any threats that get into your sights. Forsety Battalion, position your tanks to cover the center rear. Let us box them in. On this fight, we will not take any prisoners and harvest all we can to strengthen our Draengurs, said Ivar. Everyone shouted hoorah as one. Very well, Draengurs. Ready yourselves, and good hunting, said Ivar. Everyone immediately resumed what they had been doing. In 20 minutes, all were suited up and loaded onto the Reapers. Reapers, unlike the USS Mjolnir, are a battleship class. They are light and fast. They hold a company of Einherjar and can fight their way in and out of almost anything. The USS Mjolnir is a harvester class. They hold enough firepower to destroy an entire planet. They hold 1 battalion of Einherjar, 1 Forsety battalion, 1 Honir, 4 army battalions, 1 Sega company, 1 Raven squadron, and 1 100,000 naval crew. This totaled out to 104,000 men and women. The Einherjar loaded into their assigned Reapers. The army loaded into their troop transports. The Forsety loaded under the belly of the army's troop carriers. Each carrier could hold 2 tanks. As everyone snapped their battle helmets into place, the electronics powered up with a buzzing sound. Comms came up first. Then the visual screens switched 1. All units radio check, commanded Ivar. 1 by 1, all units checked in. Weapons check, commanded Ivar. 1 by 1, all checked in. Einherjar command to bridge, come in over, said Ivar. Einherjar command, this is Shield Maiden. Send it, over. Roger, Shield Maiden. We are green for launch. Waiting for your command, said Ivar. Roger that, Einherjar. Commanded, be advised, 5 mics out, copy, over. Roger, Shield Maiden, solid copy, 5 mics out, said Ivar. Einherjar command to all Reapers and Raven squadrons. Start your burn and warm the fires. One by one, all Reapers and Ravens checked in. Reapers, once you have offloaded, maintain a high altitude until called for. Ravens, you have the skies. Good hunting to you all. Over, said Ivar. Einherjar command, this is Reaper 1-1, over. Go ahead, Reaper 1-1, over, said Ivar. Einherjar, on behalf of all of us Reapers and Ravens, please, for the love of the gods, save some action for us this time. Over. Reaper 1-1, that depends on one thing. Over. Oh? And what is that? Over. Are you going to let your sister meet me this time? Over. Now, Einherjar command, if that means we get some action, hell, we will let all our sisters visit. Over. Laughing loudly. Very well, Reaper 1-1. We will save you all 1 grue ball sack each. Over. Never mind, Einherjar command. You can keep that for your Navy friends. Over and out. Everyone could hear this conversation, and all were laughing. It was an ongoing joke to pick on the other branches, but heaven forgive any who picked on Earth's military units, for you will have all come down upon your head like an anvil. Shield Maiden to all units. Deployment in 5, 4, 3, 2, and deploy. All at once, all units dropped from the Mjolnir and rapidly fell to the planet's surface. They all flew to their designated areas. Out of nowhere came the grue fighters. It was a swarm. Immediately, the Ravens jumped into action. The larger grue stingers did not stand a chance against the Ravens. There was a dogfight in the skies over the Phrygian now, and many grue fell in a flaming ball to the planet. Ivar looked out the window and saw that the capital city Mora was under attack. The bulk of the grue forces were at the outer walls and threatened to break through any moment. Einherjar command to Reaper 1-1, come in, over. This is Reaper 1-1, send it. Roger. Drop us off at the capital. It is about to be overtaken. How copy? Solid copy, Einherjar. Command changing drop zone to the capital. Out. Reaper 1-1 adjusted course and headed for the capital. He hovered over the inside of the gate and opened the drop doors. Ivar hit the release button, and all dropped out into the front courtyard of the capital. Ivar and Tyr Company dropped from the Reaper, about 100 feet from the surface, and landed in the courtyard. The grue were firing upon them, and Reaper 1-1. Reaper 1-1 started to have smoke billowing out of it. Reaper 1-1 to Mjolnir, come in, over. This is Mjolnir, send it. Roger, Mjolnir. Assets delivered to the capital. I have taken heavy damage, and heading back. How copy? Solid copy, Reaper 1-1. You have delivered assets and sustained heavy damage. Return for repair. Out. Reaper 1-1 climbed for the sky and in seconds was out of sight. All right, you bloodthirsty savages. This is what you came to do. We must push back the grue forces and hold this capital. Hoorah, said Ivar. All shouted hoorah at once, and the company commanders got them into position. Captain Alf, come in, over, called out Ivar. This is Captain Alf, send it. Roger, you maintain this position. I will go into the capital and assess the situation. How copy? Roger that, command. We will see you when all is over. Out. Ivar turned and ran into the capital. The capital guards opened the large green glass-like doors, and Ivar never stopped. He ran straight for the throne room and was met by the guard commander. The commander saluted. Thank you for coming to our aid, he said. Sit, Reap, commanded Ivar. The royal family is safe in the bunker. Here's a key that will allow you access. Ivar took the key and ran for the bunker under the throne room. The guards that were posted moved out of his way, and Ivar reached the door. He opened it, and the royal family and 20 guards were inside. Everyone looked up as Ivar ran in. Your Majesty's princess, we are securing the planet and will have the threat neutralized soon, said Ivar. The king and queen both nodded. Thank you, Commander, for coming to our aid, they said. Ivar and Princess Pri just looked into each other's eyes. Lucky for them, Ivar's visor hid his face, and no one realized but them two. The guards closed the door, and Ivar stood guard in front of it. You could faintly hear the sounds of battle raging outside the castle. Ivar listened to the chatter of battle and was ready to give his life to protect this planet. From the chatter, he knew that the Gru was being pushed back. As the three flanks pushed in, the Gru was falling back. They had no clue what lay in wait for them, as they were pushed tightly together. Ivar heard the command from the Forseti, and the T-21 multi-versatile tanks opened fire and laid waste to the Gru forces, burning all in the kill box. There were no survivors. Then he heard the all clear. Einherjar command to all units. Scout the area and all vehicles to make sure there is none left alive, said Ivar. Ivar heard the commands relayed and turned to the king and queen. Your Majesties, the Gru is defeated, and we're looking for any still alive, said Ivar. Very good, Commander. Let us return to the throne room and assess the situation, said King Prim. They all exited the bunker. Ivar led the way to the throne room. All clear, shouted Ivar. The royal family took their seats on their respective thrones. Commander Fru, sit reap, commanded the king. 300 dead, 100 uncountable, and 2,000 wounded, my lord. The king sat back on his throne with a look of grief over him. Thank you, Commander. See to the wounded and send search parties out to find the missing, commanded the king. The guard commander placed his right hand over his heart and bowed. Once done, he stood back up and headed to the command center. Colonel Ivar, will your men aid in the search? Asked the king. Yes, my lord. As we search for any still alive, my Draengers will rescue any that they find, said Ivar. Good. Thank you again, Colonel, said the king. Ivar turned and headed for the capital command center. He wanted eyes on all operations. All had been found at dusk, and any surviving Gru was killed. The naval personnel got right to work on salvaging any useful Gru equipment. Ivar was alone on the highest tower overlooking the land. Princess Pri came up behind him. There you are, my love. I have been looking for you. Princess Pri was about 5'5". Her hair was what humans called strawberry blonde, and her skin blotches were a semi-dark reddish color. She was a beautiful Frong woman. They came together and kissed. She had her arms wrapped around his neck. It was a loving, passionate kiss that lasted almost half a minute. Pri, why did you come to me? If we are caught, it will be the death of us both, claimed Ivar. I could not stay away from my mighty warrior. These last 6 months have been hard on me. I needed to see you and feel you in me, she said. Aye, me as well, love. But this is not the place. There are too many eyes, he claimed. She looked at the ground saddened. You are right, my love. I will leave you to your task. When can we be together, she asked. When there's a safe moment, I will come to you, he claimed. Pri smiled and walked away. Ivar turned back to look over the land once again. His thoughts had now drifted off to Pri and how they came to be lovers. It was about a year ago. Ivar was accompanying Princess Pri on a charter back to her home world. She had been on Earth helping with setting up the Alliance. Their charter ship was attacked by Gru, and they crashed on a small planet halfway to her homeworld. They had been the only survivors thanks to Ivar's suit and quick thinking. Just before they crashed, Ivar grabbed her and jumped out of the burning craft. They had been stuck on that planet for 3 weeks before being rescued. Right after the crash, they were set upon by Gru forces. Ivar hid Pri in a nearby cave and set to hunt the Gru. One by one, Ivar silently killed all 100 Gru and protected the princess. 2 days into their stay, feelings started building between the two. They came together and made love for the first time. The Frong is not much different from humans. According to their history, the first Frong looked just like humans. After millions of years, they had evolved into what they are now. The modern Frong shrank and formed dark skin blotches down the back of their body. This helped them to camouflage in the vegetation on their planet. They started forming hair that was human, but also like animal fur. It is silky to the touch. When in danger, it would harden, almost like a hedgehog's quills. This helps to protect them. The top of their head was covered, and the rest of their body was lightly covered. It kept them warm. Frangia's temperature ranged from negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Even though the planet was larger than Earth and had a smaller sun, it was colder than Earth. The type of hair that the Frang had protected them from the cooler temperatures on Frangia. Even with the cooler temperatures, Frangia had vast vegetation that covered the whole planet. They also had sparkling waterfalls and greenish blue skies. To look upon Frangia was to look upon Asgard itself.